Good afternoon, everyone. Recorded by Richter, back with a brand new music segment for you, and that is for a concert review for Toronto, Canada's band BadBadNotGood. If you're unfamiliar with BadBadNotGood, they are a Canadian jazz, hip-hop, rock fusion band. They've been around since around 2011 and have been, in my opinion, one of the best live bands around since. They were just here on Tuesday in support of their new tour with singer Baby Rose that they just released a collaborative project with last year, and to support their other project that they have out called Mid-Spiral. And so their show hit Detroit on Tuesday night, and my girlfriend Jen and I went, and it was an incredible time. And I'm gonna get to all of that. Before I do, I gotta say shout out to Jen again. She got me this amazing Kendrick sweatshirt for my birthday. It's crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. That is lyrics from GNX of featured artist Lefty Gunplay, who actually is just going by Lefty now. He dropped the Gunplay, so shout out to Growth. But anyways, let's get to BadBadNotGood in this concert here a little bit. So if you're unfamiliar with BadBadNotGood, like I said, they are from Toronto, Canada. The group was founded in 2010 by bassist Chester Hansen, keyboardist Matthew Tavares, and drummer Alexander Sowinski. And then in 2016, they officially added their frequent collaborator, Leland Whitty. And man, was that an amazing decision on their part, because he was by far one of the best parts of the concert. I'll get to that a little bit more in a bit here, but I'll talk a little bit more about the band here for a second. The band released their first EP in June of 2011, catching the attention of artists like Tyler, the Creator, who helped promote them to his audience online. Their first album, BBNG, BadBadNotGood, self-titled obviously, was also released this year and was noted for being recorded in a three-hour live session, and that's influenced by traditional OG jazz bands and how they would record back in the day. The same year, they would record a couple live albums, and they also did a live jam session with Tyler, the Creator. They've always been inspired by hip-hop, is one notable thing about BadBadNotGood, and that is very clear when you listen to their music. The influence is very much in what they do. They've always been inspired by artists like Doom and Jay Dilla, and once they started collaborating with Tyler, it caught the attention of more of Tyler's friends, and they started working with people like Frank Ocean and Earl Sweatshirt, Joey Badass, Danny Brown. And in 2012, they actually opened for Roy Ayers at a show in London, which was a big deal to them because Roy Ayers is a very influential artist that we just lost this year. So rest in peace to Roy Ayers. And it was also really cool because, well, since I'm thinking of it right now, for the concert, at the very end for their encore, they brought Baby Rose back out and they covered Everybody Loves the Sunshine by Roy Ayers, which, if you're unfamiliar, was a song that was very popular, but specifically in Detroit. It took off here sooner than it did around a lot of places in the country and became a huge popular staple of summers in Detroit. Now in 2012, BadBadNotGood released their second album, BBNG2, and they recorded this one in a 10-hour studio session. And this featured Leland Whitty on saxophone, Boon Poon playing electric guitar, and it's also noted that no one was over the age of 21 at this point for the band playing on this album. And it also included covers of songs by Kanye, My Bloody Valentine, James Blake, Earl Sweatshirt, and Feist. And then they also were the band in residence at Coachella in 2012 and backed Frank Ocean and Odd Future both weekends. Their third album comes out in May of 2014, which also had a song on it that was featured in the season 3 opener of Better Call Saul called Sustain. And they would also perform with Tyler, the Creator, again this year. Now in 2015, it was kind of a monumental year for them because they collaborated and made a full album with Wu-Tang Clan legend Ghostface Killah, and that album was called Sour Soul. And around this time, they would also start doing production work for Earl Sweatshirt and start working with Kaytranada a lot, who is another fellow Canadian producer who is really incredible, who I have been wanting to see for a long time now. Their fifth album would drop in 2016, and this one would feature a lot of heavy-hitting collaborations. It would have Samuel T. Herring from Future Islands, Kaytranada, Mick Jenkins, and Little Dragon, which I've got their albums over there. If you can see, there's a Little Dragon. That's a Kaytranada and IDK album right there. And I've also got Tyler back there. I tried to put some of their collaborators in the frames here today. But yeah, and then it also had Charlotte Day Wilson, which is how I found out about Charlotte Day Wilson. They have a song on there called In Your Eyes, and I'm just obsessed with that song. That song is so gorgeous. I really love it, and have been lucky enough to see Charlotte Day Wilson sing it. But anyways, for this one, they were really pulling out all the stops, and this one gained them a lot of attention. So they toured this album for 2 straight years. And then in 2018, they were booked to be the house band at a Louis Vuitton spring summer fashion show, which they worked with Virgil Abloh at, which I think is pretty cool. In that 2 years time where they were touring a lot, they worked with artists like Kali Uchis, Mick Jenkins, Charlotte Day Wilson, and they were even produced Lust for Kendrick Lamar off Damn, and they did The Ways for Kendrick on the Black Panther soundtrack. So they were busy even when they weren't putting out their own original albums. They constantly were collaborating with other people. And in 2020, they would score a film called The Disappearance at Clifton Hill, and also collaborate with one of their heroes, MF Doom, for a Grand Theft Auto soundtrack. And in 2021, they would finally, after a 5-year break, release Talk Memory, which would be their 5th album. And in the time that their album slowed down, the band began to collaborate with a bunch of other different musicians, including who I just mentioned before, Baby Rose, on her EP Slow Burn, which was the project that was being toured along with Mid Spiral, like I mentioned in the beginning of this bit here. And a little bit about Baby Rose is she is an up-and-coming singer from Fayetteville, North Carolina, that really has one of the deepest and most unique sounding voices I've ever heard. Like during the concert, even when she was speaking, it was like such like music to your ears. Like it just felt so good to hear her. Like her voice is that like rich, and it's got that deep quality to it. But anyway, she released a mixtape in 2017 called From Dusk Till Dawn that caught the attention of people like SZA, Kehlani, and J. Cole, who is also from Fayetteville, North Carolina. And she was then, after that, she was featured on a Big Crit album and also the Dreamville label's collab album. And in 2019, she went on tour with Dreamville artist Ari Lennox, although Ari Lennox has now moved on from Dreamville. But in 2019, she released her debut album called To Myself. In 2020, a remix to one of her songs landed on the HBO show Insecure. And in that same year, she would release another project called Golden Hour. In 2023, she put out her next album, Through and Through, and in the following year after that is when she began working with BadBadNotGood. Now, that's just a little bit of backstory on BadBadNotGood and Baby Rose, and now I want to take you to the show. So the show was at the Cathedral Theater at Masonic Temple, which is a legendary Detroit venue. It's actually one that Jack White saved by paying all their back taxes. Which, a little cool information there is Jack White's mother worked there as an usher when he was a kid growing up in Detroit, and so that building meant a lot to him, and he had frequently played there. In fact, when the White Stripes put out the album Elephant, and I think it was either 2003 or 2004, I saw them live with my buddy Steve, who is cousins with Jack White. So I saw them at the Masonic Temple, and that was 21 years ago, and I was able to go backstage with Steve and meet Jack and Meg, and I ended up having a long conversation with Jack White's sister, who was a little bit older, like closer to my dad's age, and she ends up telling me that she knew my dad, and they both went to school together at Wayne State Medical School. So crazy. But anyways, so I wanted to just mention that and say that it's a legendary building. Jen and I have also we got to see Andre 3000 do A New Blue Sun there, and we also saw a episode of Ancient Aliens live there. So Jen and I are kind of building quite the memories there at Masonic Temple. So it was nice to add another one to it. And the only thing that was strange is the way that they have the seating set up in this cathedral room for this show. Because the seats go all the way almost to the front, but then they had like a strange floor section, which was kind of odd in the beginning during the warm-up, because it was kind of like the seats were just like staring directly at the floor section. Luckily, we were some rows back, so we weren't like directly next to the floor section, but it was a little strange how they had that sectioned off, I would say. But we get there during the opening DJ, and I would like to read a little bit about the opening DJ because I want to give flowers to Detroiters wherever I can. And the opening DJ was the world famous DJ Dez, aka Dez Andreas. And a little bit about him is he is the son of Humberto Hernandez, a world-renowned percussionist. He got his first drum set at the age of 3, and while hanging out with Amp Fiddler's home studio, he met Jay Dilla, which this is really cool to me because today, May 16th, is Amp Fiddler Day. Amp Fiddler is getting a street named after him in the Conant Gardens area where him and Jay Dilla came up, and he taught Jay Dilla how to program the drum machine. So that is happening today. So I just want to say rest in peace to Amp Fiddler. I wanted to go down there, but it was early this morning and my girlfriend wasn't feeling well, so I sat this one out. I'm hoping I can catch the ceremony online or something and see what was said about him. But shout out to Amp Fiddler. He was an awesome Detroiter who helped a lot of Detroiters hone their skills and learn how to come into themselves as musicians. So anyways, he meets Jay Dilla at Amp Fiddler's house. So this is another crazy story that Amp Fiddler's attached to. And then Jay Dilla recruits him to become Slum Village's DJ. Crazy. Parallel to revolutionizing the US rap landscape with the new-founded electrified smoothness of S Villa, DJ Dez went on to explore his hometown's house legacy from the late 90s onwards and released a string of 12 inches on KDJ. He later released 3 acclaimed full-length albums for Mahogany Music, which put him on the map as one of the most versatile figures in dance music. In 2012, DJ Dez inaugurated his own La Vida label with the future classic New For You, which became one of the decade's most delectable dance floor cuts, selling out multiple pressings. 7 years since the crowd-pleasing A New For You, his latest release, Andreas 4, catches him at a professional peak, coming off a run of singles that were among the greats. So I just wanted to read a little bit about him because I thought that was really important. It was cool to be able to see him. I wish it would, obviously this was still part of the show where people were filing in and, you know, kind of getting into their seats. So there was a lot of talking and it was kind of loud. So it wasn't like super easy to enjoy his. And me and myself too, I get a little uncomfortable in large crowds, like right when I first get there. So like it takes me a good half an hour to like settle in and get like my comfort level. So that's kind of where I was at during his set, but it was awesome to see him nonetheless. And he actually came back out and did some percussion work during Bad Bad Not Good set. So that was really cool too. And also I wanted to note that the graphics during Bad Bad Not Good were really dope because they were done by one of Bad Bad Not Good's friends, who is a filmmaker named Sylvain Chassousse, who is a Canadian filmmaker who has done video work for Charlotte Day Wilson, Baby Rose, Bad Bad Not Good. But what was cool about this was he was running their graphics, their screen graphics for behind them on reel-to-reel film. So he had an actual projection, or he was an actual projectionist, and he was running film behind us. And there was parts that were crazy to me because Leland Whitty would play these amazing, beautiful tenor saxophone solos, and the crowd was such an attentive crowd that knew how to be well behaved, that there would be parts where all you could hear was the saxophone and the projection running reel to reel. It was really kind of like magical if I had to describe it, because it was like, I haven't seen a crowd that was that well behaved in a long time. Usually you have people talking. And there was points where you could hear a pin drop in this concert. The crowd was so well behaved. They knew when to get loud and they knew when to be quiet. It was really awesome. Their I just wanted to read off the personnel of the band for Bad Bad Not Good's Detroit show. Obviously, they're originally just 3 members, which was Chester Henson, Matthew Tavares, and Alexander Sowinski. But when they are touring, their mid-spiral ensemble includes Also on drums, like I mentioned, Chester Henson on bass, and Leland Whitty on guitar and woodwinds, along with Felix Fox Pappas on keys, Kalen Murphy on trumpet, and Juan Carlos Mendrano on percussion. So that was the lineup that I got to see with them. The parts that I found most mind-blowing to watch were Al So on drums and Leland Whitty on guitar and saxophone. I'm actually gonna cut right now to show you a little bit of the saxophone, and then later on I'll cut and show you a little bit of the percussion and drum work, because it was incredible and I want you to be able to see what I meant there. But anyways, yeah, so they came out, and at first, their first song, I was a little uneasy still. I was still trying to settle into my own, and they started getting off on this crazy synthesizer solo towards the end that was sending my brain to a strange place. But after that, they kind of dialed it in and jammed out a few more songs, and it got really awesome. And then they brought Baby Rose out, and they did all their songs with her. They also did this super gorgeous arrangement and cover of Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. And this is a part I wanted to talk about for a second, because I'm sure other people that are watching this have experienced what I'm talking about. Have you ever heard a arrangement of a song that's really well known, but the arrangement is different, and somehow that makes you hear these lyrics that you've heard all your life totally different? Because that totally happened to me during Landslide. And when Baby Rose got to sing in I'm Getting Older Too, God, it almost moved me to tears. It was like so pretty, and her voice is so rich and deep. I just can't say enough good things about Baby Rose. I would really want people to go check out her music if you haven't seen it or heard it before. But then they also did sections that were dedicated to different things. They did some of their experimental stuff. They did obviously the stuff with her. They did a tribute to like Brazilian style music, which was probably my favorite part of the entire show. so good. They jammed for over 2 hours. Like I said, they closed with Roy Ayers and brought Baby Rose back out for it, and that was really gorgeous. The weather was beautiful in Detroit. So, and you know, one thing that I also really appreciate is, I'm sure they say that nice things about every city they go to, but I'm always taken aback by how in awe of Detroit certain artists are. You know, they mentioned Dilla and they mentioned Aretha Franklin and all these people that have been so influential to the music industry for so long. So I just couldn't say enough good things about Bad Bad Not Good. I highly suggest going to check them out. Let me cut to a clip real quick of the Baby Rose part of the show before we get out of here. So let's go to that right now.
But I can't forget you, and I know that things should change. Didn't think I'd see you again. No, you'll be alright if you never see me again. Oh, before times, just give me one last dance. Y'all gonna sing the blues with me? Oh, your turn.
All right, and now that you've seen that, that's pretty much all I've got for you today. I am going to be back with more book reviews. I'm really happy with the response to Motown Burning. I've even had conversations with John, the author, now, and he's sending me his next book, which is crazy. Like, that just means the world to me, that the people that I'm talking about are actually seeing these things. So that's really awesome, and I'm really happy about that. So with that, I'll leave you guys. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.